Hello guys and welcome to episode 13 of What the Tech. My name is Adam Lobo.
And my name is Vernon.
And thank you so much for tuning in. It is, yes, the 13th episode and more episodes together with brother Vernon over here. Today's episode is going to be based on 5 things. Some are rumors, some are really good news. We have the Samsung Galaxy G Trifold, a different take for Samsung in terms of the Trifold. The Samsung Galaxy Ring is finally here in Malaysia after so many months, almost a year, I guess. Xiaomi is planning or rumored to have their own smartphone chip. CMF, the budget phone or the products from nothing, is also going to be releasing stuff on the 28th of April. And Vernon, as usual, found a very interesting picture or video actually about the Pixel Drop, a new feature which is already on the Pixel phones, but apparently it will also come bundled together with some Galaxy S25 series phone and other Android phones. So we'll dive into each one of that. For those of you who join us for the very first time, this is What the Tech, whereby we explain or give you context on news specifically of the week, instead of us creating a dedicated video on each, which we still do here on Adam Lobo TV. So if you think that this is some kind of content that you like to just listen to two guys who love tech to just banter and just discuss and just complain about what is happening.
We love complaining.
It's not because we want to complain for the sake of complaining, because sometimes when we want to do a review, if we are just going to be complaining all the way, it feels like, okay, so can you tell me what's good about it? So this would be like the so-called uncensored version of how we first feel.
Uncensored is the word.
And of course, we'll be also commenting on some of the videos that we always release. So by the time you're watching this, finally the video of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra versus the Vivo X200 Pro is already out. So be sure to check that video out because we'll be talking about that. And then next week we'll be releasing, not next week, hopefully tomorrow, on Sunday while you're watching this, which is tomorrow, the A56 review will be out. And next week is where we'll be finally reviewing in depth the Poco F7 Ultra. So that would be for this week's topic. Let's start off with the Samsung Galaxy G Trifold. Before we give the mic to Vernon over here, I saw the concept during the launch, meaning like when I went for the Unpacked in the US, I did see a very quick glimpse of it, together with the Project Mohan, the XR headset,
right,
which I did see the headset in MWC this year. Didn't get to try it because it was like in a glass showcase. But the Trifold was not to be seen in MWC. First, give everybody your thoughts about this Trifold. Why is it different than the Huawei Mate XT? And also comment on the fact that apparently it's only going to be released in Korea and China. So yeah, divide or explain on those two factors.
I mean, is Samsung finally catching up with Huawei in the Trifold market? I think so. It looks very different. It's a completely different take on the Trifold design, where with the Mate XT, it's more like a leaflet kind of design where it still has a cover screen. What Samsung has done with the G Fold is when you close it, there's actually almost like a letter G from the side profile. And what I like about it is that the cover design, the cover screen is actually inside and is protected. Whether that is advantage to some might not like it because you still want to be able to use the phone and a screen, an auxiliary screen on the outside when the phone is closed. But I think it's a different take. I think it's nice that the screen is actually protected. So I think it's very nice. Will it be available globally? Apparently, like you mentioned, only South Korea and China. Maybe they're playing it safe. I don't know. Again, it could be a massively expensive device where it's only catered to a niche audience. Maybe South Koreans and Chinese can afford it. I don't know. But I find that it's a little outrageous in terms of the design. I like that it's different. What are your thoughts about it?
The moment when I saw it in Unpack, I thought that Oh, it's the same. It's just Samsung's version of it. Until when we dive deeper, we found out that it's actually like a folded into G kind of design.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Samsung to do the trifold because the potential price that it might be, because
More screens, more expensive, right?
yeah, because while the Huawei Mate XT was really mind-blowing and a lot of people loved it, and even when I reviewed the device, it was great for almost 2 weeks. But again, it comes down to the price, and I hate the fact that every single week we are always talking about price. But it is the fact, right? Who's going to buy a 15,000 ringgit phone? Yes, it's true that you can have a huge screen and then you can fold it. Probably in China and Korea, people are more accepting towards those kind of prices because, you know, it's like your so-called ultimate flagship phone. But speaking of which, would you agree with Huawei calling the Mate XT a trifold? Because a lot of people commented in the video saying
I
that.
have thoughts about that.
Yeah, because a lot of people commented in our video to say that, what is Huawei talking about? Why is it called a trifold when it doesn't fold thrice?
Thrice, yeah.
Like, you know, it doesn't fold three times. Why is it called a trifold? But yeah, I think it comes down to the price. So let's talk about a trifold first and foremost before we talk about availability.
I'm going to talk about maybe an analogy of the phone and the form factor and something that's very close to my heart, which is printing. Right? In printing, you have a leaflet. You can have a 3-panel leaflet, which is literally what the Huawei Mate XT is, a 3-panel leaflet, which has 2 folds, not 3 folds. So a trifold is actually a misnomer. It is a 3-panel device, but with 2 folds. So maybe it's a branding thing. And it's much more interesting where it's something that's a bigger number than just a 2-fold.
So would you agree that it should be called the Mate XT trifold, or based on your, you know, like printing panels, you feel like, oh, it's wrong?
I wouldn't even use the term trifold. Just call it the Mate XT. Keep it simple.
That's a
or
good
something
point.
else.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
But here's a question for you. I feel that a phone like this with a 3-panel where it's so much bigger as a device, and in these days where a person has multiple and carries multiple devices, do we really need this one device to go with probably another phone, another tablet that you have, maybe a laptop in your bag? I feel that maybe the idea behind this was to get rid of all of that and just bring one device. But what about you? If you were to have a foldable phone like that, or maybe a trifold, since we're on that subject, would it replace all your other devices? Would you carry just one device with you? Because I feel that's the thought behind a device like that.
Very good question. Because when I was using the Z Fold as my daily driver, I still use my laptop because the operating system is different, right? What you have on a phone, what you have on a...
Because I mean, you're a Mac
Yeah.
user, right?
So-
but assuming that you hypothetically you're a Windows user, or would you be able to leave that laptop behind and just use your phone?
Still
As
no,
a one
because
single device.
even though I'm a Mac user, but still no, because the experience, the apps that you use on your phone versus the apps that you use on a desktop, even Windows for that matter, it's different. So it does not matter how big of a screen is, it is great, but it still cannot replace my laptop experience, the typing experience, the idea of it being a separate device. So I don't think it will solve my problem of really making it a single device. So even since I'm in the Apple ecosystem, even if Apple comes up with a trifold, for example, or like a Mate XT or this G Fold form factor,
You'll still carry your
I will still
MacBook
carry my
with you.
MacBook Pro. I will still carry my MacBook Air or my MacBook Pro because of, like, how Final Cut Pro for the iPad is different than Final Cut Pro on the Mac. There's a reason to it. Because like you have your touch controls, you have different controls and how you work. And that's the reason why I still carry my Mac, because I prefer the Final Cut Pro on the Mac as opposed to the iPad. So if their intention for the companies is to create this kind of form factor in order to replace the whole entire ecosystem, for me, it won't work because I still need to use a laptop per se. How about you?
Right. I mean, the foldable idea was a much more productive device, and that's something that they've been trying to sell to consumers, right?
Yeah.
It's a more productive thing. You can, work on the go, and you don't have to lug your laptop around. I feel if it was for me personally, I would still be carrying a couple of devices. I think if I were to buy a foldable, it's out of the emotion of it, of having something cool, of having something different. If Apple would have a foldable, it would be the same. I mean, I would still be carrying my iPad with me probably and my MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
I feel that, again, it kind of would appeal to a certain crowd.
Speaking of appealing to a certain crowd, is this the reason why if Samsung is going to be releasing this Samsung
Fold,
Galaxy G Fold, let's not call it a Trifold, right? Is that the reason why they're only releasing it in China and Korea to test the market first, or you feel like there's no market here in Malaysia? Because even when the Huawei Mate X3 was released, the number one question a lot of people ask is that how much is it going to be cost?
Yeah.
And the moment that we say it's going to cost 15,000 ringgit or whatever conversion USD which you can do with the tariffs and all, we're not going to go into that. Is that the reason why? Because globally it may not be accepted and they feel like they have more chances to sell it in Korea and China.
It could be. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, but yeah, it could be. Again, it's a very niche product and it's going to be pricey. In a very in the market where it's like it's Southeast Asia, it's super price sensitive. I would say the same in Asia in general. So this particular device may not appeal to a huge number of the audience and the consumers.
Yeah. Let's just hope it doesn't become a Bixby speaker. It came and disappeared. Okay, so that would be for the Samsung Galaxy G Fold. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, whether or not you're listening or even if you're watching here on YouTube. The next thing is that finally, after several months, I think almost a year, the Samsung Galaxy Ring is released in Malaysia. I had my hands on it. I have my thoughts.
Lucky you.
I have my thoughts about it. I don't have the device with me as of now, but I did get my hands on during the hands-on session here in Malaysia. Before we talk about the price, because everybody talks about the price, right? My first impressions about it is that it was really light. I don't wear rings as how I used to do in college, like lots of them. And I've got wedding rings.
Because you're a rock star, that's why.
As could be a reason why, because I have a lot of rings. But I like the design of it. It feels solid and it's not heavy, which is good. I'm used to smartwatch and using the Whoop band. But ideally, there are certain things that did caught my attention. Is the fact that it has the similar health features which is available on the Galaxy watches and your different ecosystem of things when it comes to health tracking. But I kind of wish that there's a specific feature within the software which is catered specifically for the Ring, because it still ties on to the Samsung Health.
Yeah.
So having the Ring and the Watch Ultra might be a bit redundant in a way, because you don't get anything extra except for the double pinch feature. Yeah. I wish that it was also catered for not only your index finger and your middle finger. I wish it was a ring finger, so I could potentially replace my wedding ring, right? I mean, that is something.
But does that have to do with accuracy of data? And
that's according to them.
According to them, the index finger is the most kind of.
I wish I had two sizes: one to try on my index finger, and another one to try on my ring finger, so that I can really test those claims. But unfortunately, it's not cheap. It's 2,099 ringgit. Yeah. Which
is this the first time you're kind of using a smart ring?
Yes, it is. So that's why I'm a bit excited, because we all have tried smartwatches, smart bands, but trying out a ring, it was something that I've always had that thought because of Ultra Human ring, the Aura ring, and then now there's a Luna ring, and I didn't try it first because I wanted to try the Samsung Galaxy Ring first. At the same time, the Aura Ring has subscription, the Whoop Band has subscription,
good point.
and Ultra Human has no subscription. So before I go and test those out, which a lot of people, a lot of friends have tested out, I wanted to try out the Galaxy Ring. So first impressions, I like it. I just felt like, of course, the price was one of the biggest hindrance for a lot of people to buy it. For me, as a tech reviewer, I will get my hands on a device and eventually I will buy it. But whether or not it is something that everybody can afford, and like I said at the end of the video, my first hands-on experience, would people sleep with a 2,000 ringgit ring, right? So that is one of the biggest questions. Especially if you're within the ecosystem. The good news is that it is available, meaning like you can use it for Android devices, not on iOS device. That has been tested and proven. The only thing that you kind of miss out is the pinch feature, which Samsung has the camera.
So you can use it with any other Android device aside from the Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, because the Galaxy Health feature, the app is available for every Android as well.
So it's just a pinch that you
so it's the pinch that you miss. But for me, I think it's a party trick, more of a, because Samsung's...
It's not a deal breaker.
Samsung's hand gesture has been super reliable. The most reliable, like the piece, the hand gesture has been the best. So that's my hands-on experience. Unfortunately, you haven't got your hands on it yet.
Not yet.
The moment I get it, I'll pinjam to you.
Sure.
But tell me your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I was incredibly excited when they finally announced the ring last year and globally. And then now that it's come to Malaysia, I'm even more excited because I feel smart rings, I mean, to be honest, is not a new thing. It's been around for a decade. I believe Aura Ring kind of kickstarted the entire industry with their ring, funded by Kickstarter in 2015. It was something I was looking at for a little while. Why? Because I love tracking my sleep. And the problem with that is I have to wear a watch to track my sleep, which is not always the most elegant. And it's a little heavy when I'm sleeping. So I like tracking that as an activity tracker. But obviously the industry has changed. There are more players now that you mentioned. But the problem is, I think in Malaysia, there's less exposure. We're not so exposed to smart rings. Also, I think because it's the proliferation of smartwatches and also mobile phones. So we don't carry another device with this. But I'm really excited to see Samsung entering this fray, and until also Apple hopefully comes out with a ring. But yeah, so smart ring, activity tracker, health tracker, all the features that I really want in a ring outside of a smartwatch. So I can literally wear it anywhere I want for activities, to sleep. I don't have to bring perhaps a phone with me all the time. I don't have to wear a smartwatch all the time. And sometimes smartwatches like this don't look very elegant with, office clothes and outside of gym wear. So that's another disadvantage of that. But I think you mentioned a very important point about the Samsung Ring, Galaxy Ring, which is no subscription, which was something a lot of people were talking about and felt that it was a disadvantage for the Aura Ring, where you have to pay a subscription on top of buying the device, which is kind of sucky. So I like that Samsung went that particular direction. My impressions of it, I mirror yours. I think it looks pretty good. The packaging is really nice. It is. With the transparent battery case and a charging case. And I feel that the con is the drawbacks would be being tied to the Samsung platform. And Samsung Health is yet another platform that I need to kind of use, another app that I'll need to install on my phone, which is a little sucky. And obviously the price point is an issue. $2,000, 2,000 ringgit for a ring that doesn't have a display.
Yeah.
And you'll end up having to still depend on your phone to look at the insights, the data analytics and stuff like that. It's also a little bit of a hassle. Yeah.
difference, for those of you who did not know, there's a huge difference between getting the ring here in Malaysia compared to getting it overseas. So
Okay,
in the
how so?
US, you go to the Samsung website, you order it, but they'll give you the test kit first, meaning that they'll give you
The ring sizes?
size. And you can use it probably maybe a week, because you might know exactly, because maybe on that spot, because weather plays a huge advantage. Because what happened for me is that I chose my ring size because we had an NDA to sign before going to the US. So
Okay.
I thought that they're gonna give us the ring when we had the US to test out. But when I was in the US, I went to Best Buy because I love Best Buy. I wish Malaysia had Best Buy. So I went there. So
It's like the Harvey Norman of the
exactly, but more
US.
techie, right?
Yeah.
So when I went to Best Buy, because it's cold, because it's like ending winter, I went and tested it out. I said, wrong finger, wrong size. Then
You shrunk. Your finger shrunk.
I told the Samsung agency here, I said, the size is different. Can I go with this size instead? I think because when it's cold, your fingers shrink, right?
Yeah.
Then when I came here to try the hands-on, he was big. I said, Alamak, go back to the other previous size, which I measured, right? So going back to how you order here in Malaysia, first and foremost, you will need to go to the
Store.
Samsung Experience Store.
Okay.
Then you test it there, and then it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to come.
So it's made to order. It's
Yeah.
custom.
So I don't know whether because they wanted it to feel premium so that not everybody can get it. But like I said, in the US, what happens is that there are stocks available also if you go to Best Buy. And if it's your ring size, you'll be like, okay, thank you. I'm going to go back home, right?
Right.
But apparently what they also found is that when, for example, they said I'm a ring size 7 or 8, and then it's not there. There are a lot of customers complaining, why is my ring size? Are you discriminating against people with this ring size? But that is, I guess, a US problem. I don't think it's a general problem. But what are your thoughts of Samsung Malaysia doing this particular approach of making people to go to the Samsung Experience Store, test out the ring size, and then ordering it after to confirm?
I mean, the ordering process is a bit of a hassle, I feel, but bringing people to the store isn't a bad thing, because then you can upsell and sell other things to them, right?
Oh, that's a
When
good
they're there.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, so the store experience is always irreplaceable. I mean, ordering online is completely different experience. You order something online, you don't have that visceral, physical, experience of that store. So I think it's a good thing to bring people to the store, but it sucks to have to wait 3 to 4 weeks and not pick up.
Probably
something
just
that's-
1 week, then it'll be at least okay. If it's like 3 to 4
Yeah,
weeks.
but then you need to come back to the store, which is a bit of a hassle. I want to go to the store, get my size fitted, and then pick up the device and go home
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
Yeah. Probably, I think that 3 or 4 weeks, maybe they have an option to send it over to your house. But I think
Maybe.
Malaysia has not really adopted the idea of buying something like a ring where you really need a proper fitting in order for you to rely it fully online. So I personally think it's a good idea, because at least you confirm your size first. Because probably, I'm glad that even Malaysians doesn't adopt the whole return
The
policy.
return policy,
the return
yeah, we
policy,
don't
how
really
people do
have
in the
that,
US
yeah.
and all. But if Malaysia were to send out the ring kit, and don't know how fast they'll make a purchase decision, maybe like, hey, how are they going to call? Bro, you tried already,
How does that work?
Can
I mean,
you
don't-
give us back?
Yeah, for the ring kits, you don't return them, right? You just keep.
I
them.
think, in a way you keep it.
Do
So,
you pay for them?
okay, based on my MKBH's video, they will send it over for free.
Okay.
That was when it first came out.
What are the conversion rates? I'm
Yeah,
interested
so
to know.
that's the thing, right? So I don't know whether they're going to
Maybe it's only 30% or something.
Could be. But yeah, I think it's good to test that out first. And probably Samsung Malaysia is saying, 3 weeks is to manage expectations.
Okay.
Probably maybe later in the future, they will bring it and say, by the way, we have stock. And it would be, what they said, there's this very interesting story about how instead of giving more service, if you cut down certain service, people will tend to come back again. Same like hotpot. You know how hot pot? You're technically cooking your own food, but people love that. If you ask this like 20 years ago, they say, hey, by the way, come to my restaurant, you need to cook your own food. You'll be like, what? But now you'll be like, oh, I like that, because the major issue, like what Stephen Bartlett say in his book, is that the reason why...
What, Diary of a CEO?
Yes, I love the book. Amazing book. The book is at the back here if you want to pinch up. He said that the reason that works is because it solves one biggest problem. Humans do not like to wait.
Okay.
So while
But you
waiting,
still have
you're
to wait
cooking.
for-
No, when I come here, I can cook. Hey, bro, how are you? La? You know, you cook. Eventually, you got it. As opposed to waiting for your dinner to come. I don't know whether that is true or not.
We
but
love to pay for unnecessary stuff.
I don't like hot pot, so it's okay. Okay, so that is the Samsung Galaxy Ring news.
Oh,
and
wait,
if
so
you guys-
how else can we buy the ring? Can anyone buy the ring?
yeah, anybody can buy the ring.
Anybody can buy the
Yeah,
ring.
you
In
just
Malaysia
have to go to the
and-
Samsung Experience Store. You can buy it. And of course, the plus factor is that if you have a Samsung Galaxy phone, it'll be better because you can use the pinch gesture and all.
Any
Yeah.
promos at the moment that you know of?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. They might have. I think you can head to the website, or Brother Jefferson will put more links down below for you guys to check it
Yeah.
out as well. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video of the hands-on video, that'll be out. It's already out right now. But in-depth review, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to review the ring on different occasions, like sleeping, obviously, because I love to track my sleep in a gym. Gym, you're going to be divided into two situations. Number one would be when I'm doing upper body workout, which will involve the ring.
I was going to ask you
and
about
then you
that.
have your...
How does that distract you, right?
Exactly. So I don't know.
When maybe
I'm
you're
gonna test it
lifting
out.
weights
Yeah.
and-
Because it's on the index finger,
Yeah,
right?
which
So you
is-
might interfere with the bar
Do you wear
handles.
gloves when you...
No, I don't.
Okay.
And also, what if it's a leg day? Does it even track whether or not you're moving? Because your leg day, you hardly move your hand, ma.
I think there are algorithms for that, but even with your smartwatch, if you wear a smartwatch and you're doing lower body,
Yeah.
it still detects
Exactly.
through algorithms.
Yeah, it does in a
it
way.
does, yeah.
But I still
How
think,
accurate, I
yeah,
don't
so
know.
I just know how accurate. I will be doing like a not direct comparison, but probably a comparison of reading with the Whoop Band as opposed with the smartwatch, because it is, it depends more on the phone as opposed to having its own screen.
Absolutely.
And other than that, I mean, I'm not a swimmer. I can't even swim. But I think that is the main ways that I'm going to show. I just want to know how distracting it is to use it daily. And yeah, stay tuned for my in-depth review as soon as I get the device.
Oh wait, there's
My
an
hands.
IP rating of it, right?
Yeah.
It's 68.
Yes, correct.
And you can take it swimming, so it's 1080 ATM, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, the next news is going to be based on Xiaomi, apparently are rumored to have their own smartphone chip.
Another one. Here's another one.
So they are following the footsteps of Samsung, of course, with their Exynos chipset, which
Huawei,
always
Google,
gets a
yes.
backlash about it. Huawei's Kirin chipset those days was the best when it comes to battery optimization, and of course, Google's Tensor chip,
Yep.
useless. But yeah, they
Basically a
yeah,
Samsung chip
It
that's
is, yeah,
a bit
basically a
customized.
Samsung chip, but Kononia is a Google Tensor chip. So it's still a rumor at this point in time. Now, in the guy Jukan Los Rev says that he said didn't US ban that, but
I'm not quite sure what he's referring to about the US ban.
yeah,
So-
because if we got it right, is US ban Huawei, but not specifically Xiaomi.
No,
Otherwise means brands like Techno and all cannot use the chipset in the first place. So
Absolutely.
that is quite interesting. What are your thoughts about Xiaomi doing this, like following suit with other manufacturers making their own chip?
we talked earlier about mobile manufacturers going into this customizing their own chips and building their own chips. It is an advantage,
Yeah.
because then you'll be able to control the entire supply chain, and which leads to basically cost advantages.
Yeah.
Obviously. And also hardware and software integration would be much better.
Yep.
A bit like how Apple does it. And
Yeah.
obviously Samsung and Huawei also went into designing and making the chips themselves,
Yeah.
which is an advantage.
Yeah.
But I was telling you earlier, semiconductor, it's hard. It's so hard. And it takes a lot of talent, takes a lot of technology, it takes a lot of money and resources. And for Xiaomi to embark on this, good luck to them. Like the advantages that I mentioned maybe far outweigh the disadvantages here.
Yeah.
But it will take time because the other players are just so far ahead.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just gonna do it for their mid-range phones. I don't know. But there's very little details at the moment.
Yeah, because creating hardware like a camera module and stuff like that, even with that, they've been, having collaborations with Leica in order for them to actually fit that in. They have been still relying on Snapdragon chipsets to power,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to the image processing and stuff like that. I think if it was so easy to create their own chip, I think Huawei would have already done that and not worry about anything. It is not an industry whereby, I want to create a chip. Let's do that tomorrow. Like you can't do that. It takes years and years, probably even like a decades of like 10, 20 years to do something like that.
Right. And the other thing about making chips is you need mass, you need volume. So if you're talking about chip makers, dedicated chip makers like Qualcomm and MediaTek, they make chips and they make chips for many other manufacturers, like other brands. But for Xiaomi, is it going to be voluminous enough for that investment in their business? Right, it's different. Apple has billions of devices, in the market. iOS, they've got MacBooks, everything running on a very similar chip architecture, which is fine. Samsung had a bit of a problem because only Samsung devices use Exynos chips, for instance. And for Huawei, it's the same. Only Huawei devices use Kirin. And being banned by US is not a good thing either because that means they cannot push enough hardware, enough to justify that kind of investment in the chip. So stuff like that.
It's a similar thing whereby it took almost 4 to 5 years before Apple came up with a C1 modem because they acquired the whole Intel
Intel
team.
business,
And we almost forgot about that. It was just news at that time. So whatever. But it took them 4 years in order for them to do that. And that is with Apple's huge amount of people working for them and making sure everything is okay. It's interesting how they introduced it on the iPhone 16e first to test those out. Based on our test, I think I have no issues with it. It's great. Reception great.
As good as the Intel modems?
I don't know. I mean, we don't have a direct comparison with that. But the only thing that I just wish is that there's no drop of calls, especially like when you're on the road, because it's still a thing whereby you still get cut off, or you get cut off and go, "Hey, bro, sorry, I passed my under flyover."
That's a Malaysia infrastructure problem, not the iPhone problem.
So, but still, if the modem is so strong, it probably would not have such issues. I also did a very in-depth research on NVIDIA on how Jensen Huang and team has managed to really build to where they were and where they are today. And what they did is that any of their suppliers acquire, and then eventually become
by the competition.
Exactly. Which that time was not so huge. So I think nowadays companies like Xiaomi cannot do that. They cannot do like what maybe what Apple did with Intel last time. Whether or not it's going to make a huge difference, that one we all have to wait and see once the new Xiaomi device. The rumor is that they are going to be releasing on not their flagship if this is really going to happen.
Be on the mid-range, right?
Yeah, so maybe apparently the Xiaomi 15S. I didn't know there's going to be an S version of the Xiaomi 15. But if it is, that is what the leaks is suggesting, which is somewhere this year. I doubt it's going to be this year. Okay. And if this year is going to be Xiaomi 15S, I think they might just get the MediaTek chipset as opposed to using their own SoC. But
that's fair.
If you think about it, Xiaomi proved everybody wrong when they released not one, but 2 Xiaomi cars. Yes. They didn't create a chipset though. Yes, they did use the Snapdragon chipset, the mobile chipset. If I'm not mistaken, they use it for for the cars, which is amazing. But other than Huawei, if there's another company which can do what they say they can do, it's Xiaomi. So I guess we all have to wait and see when it comes to that. So whether or not Xiaomi is going to have a own smartphone chip. We will just have to wait and see. If the rumor is correct, it will be somewhere this year. I doubt it. But then again, we could be proven wrong.
Yeah.
Next news is CMF. What are your knowledge when it comes to CMF? Because I reviewed the first CMF Phone 1 and all of their devices. But before I give my thoughts, I want to know what are your thoughts about they releasing a new phone, which is end of April, which is end of this month.
Well, CMF is a brand, and being the sub-brand of Nothing, when they first were introduced, I felt excited because I feel they do things differently.
Yeah.
It's not just another challenger brand that's selling cheap devices and stuff like that. I think the great thing about the CMF brand, it's about individualism, it's about personalization and customization. So it gives power to the user to kind of put your own take on it, put your individual look and feel into the device and making it customizable. I like that it's not just about specs. It is about super value for money, yes. But I like that the design is so different. It's very refreshing in the world of so many generic phones nowadays, generic looking phones.
Yeah.
So I like it. There's very little details about CMF Phone 2 Pro.
Surprisingly, because if it's going to be releasing at the end of this month, you might already buy right now. You might get some stuff, but it's not there.
But it's a typical kind of Nothing strategy as well. Just create that hype and create the curiosity. I feel that even from that thumbnail alone, and also that tweet, you'll be guessing. Is that the third camera on the phone? Which would be interesting because the CMF one had 2 cameras.
But
what do you think?
I
think it teases.
I like the fact that CMF Phone 1 was not a Pro, and I like the fact that it's only 1,000 ringgit.
Absolutely, it's crazy. It's crazy how they priced it.
The biggest complaint for everyone, like I said, in almost every podcast that we do, is the price. And if Nothing is gonna, it's interesting because until now, when we go back to analytics and search results, nobody is looking for the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. People are still searching for the Nothing Phone 3A. No one cares about a Pro. It's funny because we are reaching to a point whereby is the Pro really even needed? I did a video about, I switched from the S25 Ultra to the S25, and I did it as an experiment, as a test. I still love the S25 Ultra, but a lot of people commented, say, I did the same. I'm like, wow. So why didn't...
What's the price difference between the CMF Pro and non-Pro?
CMF or Nothing?
Nothing, sorry.
I can never remember pricing. So,
okay.
So there's something which is not at the back of my head. But I don't know whether there's a price factor. There was an extra camera module. I love what CMF is doing with all the products that they release. It looks super unique, right? So,
it is super unique.
And
super
their
fun,
buds,
super unique.
it's so cool with the idea of adjusting the volume knob on top and all. I wish that they, instead of it being a Phone 2 Pro, I just wish there is a Phone 2 with maybe 1,100 ringgit. 100 ringgit
It might come, right? I mean,
but they never talked about the CMF Phone 2. They said CMF Phone 2 Pro. So does that mean that will there be a Phone 2 and a Phone 2 Pro, or it will be just a Phone 2? Again, this is going into Poco's territory of releasing an F7, releasing an F7 Ultra and a Pro. It's like, what happened to the base model? I don't know why companies are doing this, because
it's just a go-to-market strategy, I guess. It's
because the biggest argument for the CMF Phone 1 is the fact that other than it was super modular, you can create all these different things which made it unique, is the price factor. 1,000 ringgit phone. And I did I did a extreme comparison. I had the S24 Plus versus the CMF Phone 1. And again, it comes down to whether or not you need all these extra cool features to pay for a flagship phone, right? And I am excited with the CMF brand itself, But the idea of them releasing a Pro instead of releasing a Phone 2, that is where I'm a little more skeptical. It's set to launch 28th of April, which is a few weeks' time. So we all have to wait and see.
It's coming close. It's coming close.
And if they're going to say that the 2 Pro is going to be same price as the CMF Phone 1, then it might be quite mind-blowing. Then people are like, oh my God.
I feel it wouldn't.
Yeah, I also feel it wouldn't. But that is the only wow factor, right? So, yeah, I think, as usual, as soon as
But
it
the
is
leaks
out,
point to, aside from the third camera, it's also teasing a new metallic finish, just like the Nothing phone. So it could be slightly a notch higher than a Phone 2. And the Phone 2 may probably come a bit later or maybe at the same time. Who knows?
Yeah.
But different finishing.
correct. I mean,
And
again,
one less camera probably.
even the watch was so great. It looks so
Do you remember
nice.
when CMF launched the original phone in Malaysia? They had this bundle where you get the watch and the buds.
Yeah.
That was just crazy.
That's
and
why I said that
I
they
was
should-
so close to buying the CMF phone because it was like a no-brainer, right? It was under 1,500 ringgit.
And it's so
then you
unique by
lot.
itself. And imagine like being in the CMF ecosystem, that could be a very good potential. So, like I said, I believe that they should just stuck with the non-pro version. But who knows, maybe they might surprise us with this particular pro version. But again, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below as usual. Okay, then let's go into the next one. So this is a video which I didn't know about, which you saw it, which is the Pixel Drop. So give us the lowdown on the Pixel Drop.
Well, if you didn't know, Pixel Drops are essentially just software updates. Just sounds sexier, and definitely sounds sexier than just a software update. So what Google does is they push out these Pixel Drops to Pixel devices globally, either monthly, bi-monthly, sometimes quarterly. So they can be small or big updates, and many a times is about feature enhancement. So you get new features on your phone, and you get bug fixes, you get software fixes and stuff like that. So the last update was in March, where Google delivered Gemini Live and some camera enhancements. They had some scam detection feature. So it was Google's idea is that continue to improve your devices over time, so your phone actually gets better, not worse, over time, which is a good thing using software. And the background there for Gemini Live is that it allows you to speak to your phone or to Gemini in natural language, in up to 45 languages, without having to change language. So you can interact with an AI, basically an AI assistant, in different languages, and it uses Gemini 2.0 Flash. I'm not sure if you use Gemini as a tool. Yeah. So without typing, you can kind of talk back and forth. It understands context. You can kind of use it for brainstorming. You can use it for research. You can even practice your speech aloud and get them to review it and say, where should I improve my speech or my script, right? You can do that with you. But so the latest kicker is that the new Pixel Drop in April brings you Gemini Live, but with live recording and also screen share. I love that you can do that because you'll be able to use your Pixel device, turn on your video camera, and then analyze something. Let's say you want to know something about this device. You say, can you tell me more about this mic? And it gives you information about that, which is really cool. The other use case would be when you screen share something. Imagine you're doing, let's say you're on Final Cut Pro, and you say, how do I do an L cut? And then Gemini tells you how to do it step by step. I feel that it's just so useful as AI, and it's just a step up from being actually useful and not just generating Ghibli images and removing photo bombers from your selfies.
Yeah. So currently, this particular update we've already tested out on the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. It works flawlessly. Is it available on the Pixel 8 then? Or is it only a 9 exclusive?
If you have Gemini Advanced, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for Pixel 9, as long as you get the Pixel Drop, you can.
Fantastic.
It's also available for other devices like you tested on the S25
Yeah,
Galaxy.
the baseline.
It is available on other Android devices, but you need to subscribe to Gemini Advanced, which is a paid feature. I think it's $20 or something like that.
Yeah, the good thing about Gemini Advanced compared to ChatGPT, for example, is that you also get 2 terabytes of storage, which is a lot. I mean, for me, like sharing files within the team, sharing files within clients and stuff has been really good.
Yeah.
I use Gemini Advanced because of the Flash. It's super fast. It is great. I did a lot of workshops telling people about Gemini. Gemini is amazing.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges that I have is that Malaysians call Gemini Germany.
Gemini.
I swear. So guys, if you're listening for this from Malaysia, it's called Gemini, not Germany. Germany is a country. But I mean, jokes aside, Gemini has been very, very
And
great,
did you get a chance to try live recording?
I haven't tried it yet, but Apit has already tried behind the scenes. He said that it works flawlessly. I'm going to try it and probably release some short form videos like you suggested, especially to Malaysianize everything.
Yeah, Malaysian in a Malaysian context, how would you use it, right?
That'd be quite good. Because my major concern was the fact that whether or not it could answer as quick as possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the video,
It was super quick.
super quick. It was very
So that is very important, but then it does come down to internet connection and stuff because I did do like some demonstration whereby I had an issue.
Sure. I watched a couple of YouTube videos where they reviewed live recording and screen share. There is a delay depending on what you're asking it. So there could be as long as 10 to 15 seconds sometimes for it to process and give you that information. But yeah, that's understandable.
I do appreciate how fast the updates are being rolled out though, because remember what someone like MKBHD says, that never buy a product with a promise of future updates. But I feel like Google has been giving the future updates better compared to iPhone, of course, with Apple Intelligence. I tried using visual intelligence, but every time it tells me to ask ChatGPT, so what's the point? I might as well just use ChatGPT.
I was just going to say that Google is really on top of it, and I find that Siri is so dumb.
Yeah. So hopefully this year's Dub will have, hopefully this year's Dub will actually finally like bring Siri to be one of the best, because like when Siri was first announced, it was so good on the HomePod especially. But right now, other voice assistants have really come out so far.
Really,
but another voice assistant which is really left behind is actually Alexa.
Oh, Alexa
Right?
there's like no news on Alexa.
No news at all.
So quiet.
They were the first one to control all of our smart home stuff. But right now you can use Siri, you can use Google Assistant.
Yeah, Alexa is kind of
Speaking of Google Assistant, from your research and your point of view, with Gemini being so great, do you think that our our Google Home and all this voice assistant will change fully Gemini, or they will stick to Google Assistant only for the smart home stuff and Gemini for
I feel
all
there's
the
an
other parts?
integration, and obviously Gemini offers a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But I feel there will be integration.
Okay.
Slowly but surely.
All right. So that is a very interesting thing. If you guys are using a Pixel device, make sure to immediately do that, because it is something that you will definitely get mind blown. Our buddy Upbeat has actually tested out. Right after he done his podcast, I'm going to do it, and hopefully you can do some short form videos for you guys to see that as well.
Make it scan a durian and ask what it is, and
and whether or not it's sweet.
yeah.
If you can know whether it's sweet, it'll be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Based on how it looks, it's not sweet, Buta. And then you try it's sweet, it's like, hey.
How do you open a durian?
Oh, can I open a durian? You take a pencil. Can I open it with this? There's so many cool things that you can do.
I mean, go crazy, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Take public transport and let it figure out whether you should take this bus or that train.
Very good
or,
point.
Whatever.
Okay, we have a community segment which kind of relays back to the Samsung Galaxy Ring. We just only posted this a day before we recorded the podcast. So far, there's 2 comments. Din has mentioned that how he's going to be sticking to his Huawei Band 6 because it is reliable. And I'm glad that he said Huawei, because it shows that Huawei is still more reliable compared to Honor, for example. Again, you all know I always crap on Honor, but it is true because
It is
my
a sub-brand,
my father-in-law uses a Honor watch, and he needs to download a Huawei app in order to pair it.
Well, I mean, they were sub brands before they sold it out.
But they claim they are not. So what's up, La Honor? Anyway, I'm glad Dane is saying that. And if it's working, Dane, just stick to that. It's fine. Nash Days 92 says, NASA Dash. I don't know how NASA Days. Okay. He says that it's quite a huge investment, which is true, 2,000 ringgit, huge. It all comes down to the price again. And people are still willing to go with the smartwatch instead of the ring until it becomes affordable. Speaking of affordable, before we close this particular topic, because we talked about it a lot earlier, what is your ideal price for a smart ring?
I was actually gonna bring it up earlier.
Good.
I would say $1,000.
1,000 ringgit.
1,000 ringgit. I would highly consider it.
Okay.
500, no brainer.
Oh, cost 500 is going to be madness. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, look at it. If it costs 500, it's justifiable. No display. You still need to bring your phone around. It's different from a smartwatch, which there's a whole lot more tech to it. Obviously, there's miniaturization and stuff like that. That's the cost.
Yep.
But $2,000 is I feel is just too much to pay for.
Because of the technology, I would say that I don't mind if it's somewhere like 1,200 ringgit. I will buy it still. I think 500 probably, of course we will love for it, but 500 maybe is not as realistic as compared to 1,000 ringgit. 1,000 ringgit, then yes, I don't see anybody not buying it. But I still wouldn't mind if it's like 1,200 ringgit. Then it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this over a smartwatch. So yeah, if you haven't commented at the community tab, just comment down below.
Interesting point. You said over a smartwatch.
Yeah.
Meaning if you had a smart ring, you wouldn't have a smartwatch, or is it an either or is you use it together? What's your take on it?
If I were to use a smart ring and a smartwatch, I think what I have been doing lately is that I stopped wearing the Apple Watch to sleep. I only wear the Whoop band to sleep, because you're right, in the long term it makes it uncomfortable. So I would replace the ring to my smartwatch only when I sleep.
Okay.
But if
what about the band and your smartwatch?
The band and the smartwatch has worked both ways, because sometimes
it's band and a smart ring. Sorry.
Band and a smart ring. If it's a band and a smart ring, then
serves
it all comes down
purposes,
to
right?
It all comes down to the software. One of the main reasons why I love the Whoop band is because the software it's so in depth.
Okay.
But I hate it, but I still do it. I hate the fact that you have to pay almost 1,000 ringgit subscription per year. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
The device itself is about, if you buy it, if you convert it, is about 1,600 ringgit. But you get 1 year free
with your
Apple Health.
Yes, it does. And your activity rings.
Yes, it does. So again, that's the reason why I can live.
Coming from an Apple user, that's
yeah. So that's the reason why I can live without this. I'll probably not live without this as much because of that.
I get you, because this doesn't sync with
and
my
I
Apple
started
rings.
Again, I know we mentioned about him a lot, but I'm glad he's watching our podcast. I had a conversation together with Jason Smashpop, Z, and also Uma. And he said sometimes he doesn't want to wear a smartwatch because of the notifications that he get.
Well, you can turn them off.
Exactly. But he find it that he rather not wear a smartwatch. But then again, he's a huge watch fan. So yeah,
you can turn them off.
For me, like nowadays when I wake up in the morning, what I do is that I wake up, I just go to, I don't touch my phone, I don't even touch my smartwatch, I just go feed Luna, go outside, read a book. Only then I wear the smartwatch first. My phone is still there. I do the rest of the thing, wash the Luna's plates and all. And then after that, I pick up my phone. So it's a nice way to,
very similar.
So it's a good way to disconnect in a way. But at least by having this, it won't distract me. At the same time, it still has that. I understand you can remove the notification. But yeah, that's a whole topic by itself.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that would be for the community segment. But before we close today's podcast session, by the time you're watching this particular video, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra versus the Vivo X200 Pro video is out. If you watch that video, then you should listen right now. But if you haven't watched the video, you can probably come back later. But in a nutshell, I was shocked because When
In
I
a good or bad way?
I was shocked in a bad way because I thought that I knew the Vivo X200 Pro was going to be good, but the fact that the Vivo X200 Pro was released end of last year and is still like really beating other smartphones, I thought the Xiaomi 15 Ultra would at least not beat the Vivo X200 Pro, but at least have some level of be on par, right? There are areas whereby Xiaomi 15 Ultra at night was better. That would be because of the 1-inch sensor, especially for picture. But video-wise, the Vivo does a bit better. So it's a very interesting comparison, which we will need for you all to watch it. But that is what we have just released by the time you're watching this video. Tomorrow is where we'll be releasing the in-depth review of the Samsung A56, an A-series phone, which is one of the top-selling phones from Samsung as well. And also, in the coming week, we'll be also releasing our in-depth review of the Poco F7 Ultra. Because again, I want to test it out further because there are some areas where the phone is not so ultra. Yeah, so I want you all to make sure to check that out as well. With that, we'd like to close this session for today. Thank you so much for tuning in for What the Tech episode number 13. My name is Adam Lobo.
My name is Vernon, signing off.
And we will catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.